How you doing, Jay?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you, Brian?
You look pretty relaxed.
I'm pretty relaxed.
Good. Did you watch the Jimmy Fallon premiere?
No, I missed it. I really wanted to, though, but I ended up finding myself struggling over a 3-paragraph blog post on church music for about an hour and a half.
I kind of like that
I finally get it, and I look up at the clock, and I'm like, oh, crap, it's 11:30. And I had to get up at like 5 this morning to go meet some guys for a little guys meeting Sunday.
A little guys meeting?
Yeah, just 4 of us.
Is it like little guy football? Or?
No, it's a small
small
group. Yeah,
it's a small group
of us. Yeah, 4 of us.
A group of men. You meet with a group of men on Tuesday mornings. That's
I
right.
do.
I remember
for coffee.
that.
Yeah. We're going through the book of 1 Samuel. I'm Jay Friesen.
I'm Brian Mattson.
And you're tuned in to Dead Reckoning. You probably knew that, though.
That's why you clicked on it. It said
play.
Dead Reckoning. Anyway, this is the Spindle portion of our program, where Jay and I banter and talk about current events, things going on in the news. We try to evaluate things through the lens of our Christian faith. So
it's a weak attempt upon my part because you're the scholar and I'm the Joe Schmo.
Joe six-pack.
I wish I had a 6-pack. I usually have a 6-pack.
I was going to say you do have a 6-pack.
It's not there. You know what I'm saying?
You pack your 6-pack on a little differently.
I pack my 6-pack usually right about here is what I'm saying.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. So anyway, speaking of news, what's on your hit list today?
Hit list today. Well, you like my camel haircoat?
It certainly looks like it looks felt.
No, actually, that's wool.
It looks like felt. You know the flannel. You remember the flannel boards in Sunday school?
Yeah, it does kind of look like that.
I could take the little I could take like a flannel camel and stick it to your.
Speaking of camels,
like
camel hair.
segue?
Did you know that camels disprove the Bible?
Sure, they do.
Yeah, it made big news this week. Archaeologists publicized some findings from a study that they had done, and basically what happened. NPR took the story and ran with it. You know, very sensational. You know, anytime a story disproves Bible, it's always a big headline. Well, some archaeologists, Jay, were digging in a 10th century BC copper mine.
Okay.
And
following you so far?
They found
gold,
camel bones.
Okay. Following you so far?
From bones from domesticated camels. Yep. Obviously, the Bible's a made-up book.
You lost me. I was following you right up to that last point, and then you lost me.
Well, here's the thing. The Bible, specifically the book of Genesis, portrays Abraham and his family and people in the time period riding camels. They obviously had domesticated camels. Well, it turns out that the camel bones they just dug up are...
Where's my phone?
I don't know.
Is this the same? Are they looking at the same pictures as Vidal Sassoon Jesus?
Something, maybe. I don't know.
You saw my photo of Vidal
Sassoon Jesus? I did see that. That was very funny.
It's Jesus with like super curly hair, gorgeous beard.
Will you let me
highlights.
Explain why the Bible is false?
I thought they saw it in a picture, so...
No, they dug up camel bones. Now listen.
Whatever was made in 1960s Bible photos
this is
Sunday school.
This is the first visible...
That's biblical truth.
First physical evidence that we have.
That's why all the disciples look like rock stars.
This is the first evidence we have that camels were domesticated. 10th century BC. Abraham was 20th century BC, like 2,000 years BC, okay? So what they're saying is, before these camel bones we just found, there were no domesticated camels. So if there were no domesticated camels, obviously Abraham could not have been riding a camel, see? Disproves the Bible.
I think it's really cool that we found like the earliest camel bones ever.
I think it's cool too. I think
it's pretty cool.
The conclusion that
the conclusion is completely ridiculous.
That these attention seekers are and they're getting attention. This is what drives me crazy. I mean, NPR put these people on. What's the theory they're working with? Here's the theory. If I haven't found it, it doesn't exist.
That sounds like a reasonable scientific...
That's a really reasonable scientific
if you can't prove
thing.
it in science,
if I haven't found
it,
it doesn't exist. Why don't they say that about the missing link?
Wait, no, I got a better one. Mm-hmm. How is it we're always finding new stuff?
It didn't exist before because we hadn't found it.
But
something like that.
It's like if a tree falls in the forest, does it make a sound if nobody's
You're
around to
hurting
hear
my
it?
brain here. You're hurting my brain. Well, here's the problem. The problem with all this and the reason that this thing shouldn't have been a story to start with is that Abraham came from the land of Ur, or the city of Ur of Chaldees. We actually have a clay tablet dug up from the time of Abraham from It's written in Ugaritic, which is an awesome little hash mark language called cuneiform. And this tablet that we've dug up from 2000 BC. Yeah.
What's the word Ugaritic mean?
Ugaritic.
I see. I even mispronounced it. What does it mean?
It's a language.
Oh, okay.
It's
I thought cuneiform was the actual language. And
no,
Ugaritic
cuneiform
was
is the
fancy
kind of language, and they actually write with little hashes, little wedges.
This
and
is
it's
why
awesome.
I'm here, because we have people out there right now going, what is he talking about?
Well, okay, so cuneiform is a really cool ancient language from the land of Ur. Well, we actually have a tablet that's written in cuneiform. We can read this language. This is not, rocket science. And it has a list of domesticated animals. Do you know what's on it?
Chipmunks.
Camels. Okay, now, I'm sorry. The camel bones you just found in the copper mine were the first physical evidence of domesticated camels you found, but I'm sorry, the clay tablet from Ur in 2000 BC.
I'm more kind of
they
curious.
Weren't making that up. Abraham had camels, folks. The Bible is not wrong about Abraham having camels.
I am more curious about what other stuff is in the copper mine. I mean, what does a 10th century copper mine
look like?
Or 10,
they're not interested in that.
Look like, or
listen,
whatever it is.
You can't get funding to keep digging in a copper mine if all you're finding is stuff in a copper mine. You have to find stuff that disproves the Bible, man. That's what rakes it in, baby.
Copper?
National
Is there cool
Geographic. National Geographic. This is where grant money comes from. Hey, if you can disprove the Bible, we'll give you money.
So what we should be doing here is sitting here disproving the Bible. We can get.
I just did.
Oh,
there were no camels in Genesis.
okay.
I'm just kidding. Anyway, complete nonsense. Anyway, I blogged about that this week, and I linked also to an Onion article. It said archaeological dig makes astonishing discovery of.
Sounds strikingly similar to the NPR art.
No, it's hilarious. Archaeologists dig discovers ancient race of skeleton people.
That's hilarious. The Onion
Skinless, organless creatures, because they dug them up. There used to be skeletons that lived here. That's funny stuff.
Speaking of skeletons, Christians around the world who hold to a traditional form of sexuality are considered archaic to the point of skeletons.
We're being skeletons.
As recently protested at Wheaton College.
Yes, Wheaton College recently hosted a chapel service where the featured speaker was Rosaria Butterfield. Rosaria Butterfield is a former professor at the University of Syracuse. She was an atheist. She was a lesbian in a committed lesbian relationship.
And she was the author of a book called Secret Thoughts of an Unlikely Convert.
Because Rosaria Butterfield was converted to Christianity and is now married with children. She married a pastor, by the way.
Well, evidently a bunch of 20-somethings at Wheaton, and Wheaton was not too far down the road from my alma mater, Moody Bible Institute.
Yeah. Wheaton.
In fact, Wheaton we considered the liberal college because they actually allowed, rather than one night a semester for only a couple hours, they actually allowed men in the women's dorms and women in the men's dorms on a regular basis. I mean, we're talking
that's liberal.
Straight to hell in a handbasket.
Liberal. Okay, so Wheaton College hosts Rosaria Butterfield. She's going to just give her testimony at chapel. That's what they're going to do. So the local gay campus group decided they were going to protest.
Because Wheaton is liberal enough; it has a gay campus group. Okay, you have your resident life group, you have your African American group, your Latino group, and your gay group.
Yes, so
all at Christian school.
Did you really just go like this
when you were talking
about? Oh my goodness! Right. Wow. Anyway, there was a protest on the campus of Wheaton College.
We get it. No, but my point is, why does it seem so silly to me? Why is it silly that a bunch of college students are protesting homosexuality or Rosaria in a Christian school? Why does that seem silly to me?
Well, it is silly that there would be, any objection whatsoever to Rosario Butterfield sharing her testimony. Interesting piece, however, I read today from one person who is a Wheaton alumnus and two former guests of this program. R.J. Moeller and Eric Tietzel wrote just today on a blog site called The Federalist their thoughts on the protests at Wheaton College. and it's an excellent read. I commend it to you. They actually said that, look, this tiny little splinter group of students that's pro-gay at Wheaton is not the real story. The real story is the thousands of people who did not protest and went and enjoyed listening to Rosaria Butterfield and gave her a standing ovation. That is the future of the next generation of evangelicals.
I like hearing somebody like Rosaria Butterfield, because she actually responded to that protest on the Gospel Coalition blog, and it was very much like, this is the culture that I helped create. I mean, she founded, maybe not founded, but she was one of the driving proponents of this
GLBT campus culture.
LGBTQMIA.
Yeah, there's too many letters. It's LGBTQ
QMIA.
QRSTUV WX and Z.
And
she created this culture. By the way, that Gospel Coalition piece by Rosaria Butterfield is a must-read in my opinion.
Fantastic.
So just go to the Gospel Coalition and search for Rosaria Butterfield. It is fantastic. Absolutely must read that.
So aside from the Sochi Games, which is great.
The Sochi Games. I haven't watched a single second of the Olympics this year.
I have, and it's been really good. It's been really good coverage. And quite frankly, I'm going to be not maybe an alarmist or like a conspiracy theorist, but I'm really thankful that no terrorists have been active so far.
Well, I'm thankful for that.
Because I actually got kind of worried there for a minute. But as you know, Putin and
Vladimir
and his country, the whatever they're called now,
Russia.
United Federal Russian Federation or whatever, they are very anti-gay. Speaking of the gay theme,
yes,
and which leads me to the other point.
What's your other point?
It's ridiculous to protest. There were a couple people on my Twitter feed that were protesting watching the games because the games happened to be in a country. Well, now they're being broadcast on NBC, which is a very pro-gay network. So maybe the two cancel each other out. I don't know. But the trending topic I had, speaking of homosexuality, was Ellen Paige.
I have something to say. Just hold that thought. Okay, hold that thought. Anybody not watching the games because they were held in Russia, and Russia is a very anti-gay country, if you didn't open your mouth when we had the games in Beijing about there's a country with just a wonderful humanitarian record, if you didn't also protest those games, shut up. Go ahead.
Is now a lesbian as well.
Who is?
Ellen Paige, the actress. Know what my first thought is?
What was your first thought? Who cares?
Who cares?
I would like to take this opportunity to announce to the world that I am a heterosexual. I sleep with my wife. Can I get an Oscar now?
I'm straight.
Look, this is not news, people. The one thing I will say about that, and it's unfortunately homosexuality has become a big topic in our culture, and I get really tired of it and tired of the subject. But we have to talk about it because it's always in the news. It's just it's this constant barrage, right? Are you disagreeing with that?
No, finish your thought before
you jump in.
I'm gonna jump in.
Here's my problem. My problem is everybody lionizing what bravery and courage this took Ellen Paige to come out of the closet and say that she's a lesbian. I'm sorry. There's a very long list of things that are brave and courageous in this world. Announcing you're gay is at the bottom of that list. She was guaranteed primetime coverage for weeks. She was guaranteed being lionized as a great cultural hero. What exactly was the downside here?
Fundamentalist Southern Baptists may not like her anymore.
And she cared about this when?
That's my point.
Never. She lives in Hollywood. Let's stop lionizing this act because there's nothing really brave about it. It's actually wonderfully savvy business sense.
But I think you do bring up a really good point though, and that is that this is a topic that's not going to go away, okay? Mm-hmm. And I have a theory that it's going to become more normal than we think it is. A recent study said only 2% of the American population was
homosexual.
That's
true.
I think it's going to be more than that. We're going to start seeing, now that it's cool to come out, we're going to see a lot of people who never really self-identified with say, I'm gay or whatever, but I've occasionally thought about having sex with another man, so maybe that makes me
You think they'll come?
I think they're going to come out and say, I think
that's
gay
true.
Too.
Any time you have less social or cultural stigma against anything, you always get more of it. That's just the nature of societies, and so I think you're right.
So what you're saying is, if it became cool to kill your neighbor, we just get more people killing each other.
If killing, yes.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying homosexuality is up there as like bad as killing.
Yeah. We would not want to be misunderstood, and
it's not that bad.
Be labeled gay bashers and homophobes, and that. No, actually, it's true. The more a culture is saturated in violence, it begets more violence. I think that's generally true. I mean, kids who do nothing but play first-person shooters games for 6 hours a day in all of their formative years is probably going to be not a very nice person.
I actually had read an interesting article. My wife forwarded me an interesting article on video games earlier today, and I don't entirely agree with his premise, but he does bring up a good point. We should try to get him on the show. He is the editor-in-chief of Christ in Pop Culture and serious hardcore gamer, and he has some interesting things to say about the video game industry.
Ellen Noble's the editor.
It's actually a name I'd never seen before.
Okay.
And so,
but he made a point about
culture,
games.
He made a point. He made a couple points that you can. It just felt like he's taking games too seriously. That it's he said. You can get you come to terms with your moral decisions, with the decisions you make in this video game pretend world, and that helps you actually make those same decisions in life. And I'm like, no, it doesn't, because it's a video game. You're far riskier in video games. I mean, I crash cars on purpose in video games. You don't do that in real life.
True. Yeah, there's something about flesh and blood reality that
I don't know. But I am really looking forward to...
That is an interesting topic. We should have him on the show to talk about it.
I'm really looking forward to Thief. It's coming out here soon.
What is that?
Looks great. It's a video game.
Oh, it's a video game.
It's a first person. You're a thief and you try to set the world right, I guess, with your evil. And
this is an interesting topic that we should take up sometime.
Interestingly, I think there's zombies at the end of it, because there's zombies at the end of every game, isn't there?
I mean, that's the only way things are cool these days, is if there's zombies.
But it's kind of this.
We should talk about the ethics and the morality sometime.
We should.
Of role-playing games where you're playing a bad guy doing bad things.
Kind of like, didn't we already cover that once?
We kind of did when we were talking about that.
I would like to actually have a video game expert on the show at some point. So let's do that. All right, I think that's going to end our Spindle. If you like us, share us with your friends. We're on Facebook and Twitter, DReckoning TV, and you can email us. We are 100% donor supported. We have a killer show for you today because
we got Joe Baker on the show.
Yeah, he's amazing. If you've ever seen a $80,000 Mercedes van pimped out with about another $40,000 worth of gizmos, all in the name of pro-life, it's Joe Baker's ministry.
Joe Baker, Save the Storks, is going to be he's on the show today. So
he's on the show.
It's going to be fun.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
And commentary, Brian is talking to you about the fact that we can believe the Bible regardless of how many camels we find buried in copper mines.
Something like that, so stay tuned.
I'm Jay Friesen.
I'm Brian Madsen.
And this is Dead Reckoning.